All right, I see the keys for week 8. I will go and put points in there eventually, and then I'll put. So what is this late or missing folder? Is this Moses? Let me take a look at this.
I think that might have been my head turn and run cycle we looked at last week.
Right. Didn't I just click on this? Where's my file? Oh, there we go. Oh, now I got 2 of them. I had to yell at the guy from Comcast last week because on Thursday, my internet just like died. Like, what the hell was that? And then it came up for 2 seconds and then it died again. And I'm like, I called and the automatic message said that there was an outage in my area. But I had a class for the academy and I'm like, what are you people doing? And I ended up getting some credit for my rate, but I had to like move class around. Okay, so this have we seen this, Elsa?
Yeah, it's
We saw this one. Okay.
like more. No,
What?
I turned. Let
This
me.
is
No, yeah,
this
that was
is
the old one.
This is the
That was-
late and missing redo folder.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
we
that's
already
it.
saw that one.
Yeah.
And I'm only doing it this way because Canvas doesn't give you a preview.
I think you already saw this one, Billy.
Yeah, I think we already saw all these. All right, Moses. Did we already see both of these, Moses?
Yes, I believe so
Okay.
last week.
All right, Elsa. Do we see this one?
if
This is
that
May
one.
19th. So this is May 19th, okay.
I haven't finished, obviously.
Okay. Okay, you didn't want to have him jump over. Oh, I should have waited. Sorry.
I was like, oh wait, you're the one who told me to do the pause.
I forgot what I told you. Okay, so yeah, the timing looks good here.
The in between walk, I don't really know if it looks good.
Right. Yeah, so the overall timing looks really good. 18-second film. So there's only one thing that's truly catching my eye, and that is that when your bear goes from this anticipation, and I'll use my mouse to describe the error first, and then I'll draw it for you. But he continues to go from the anticipation up, so he goes this way,
Mhm.
which would propel him.
Forward.
It would propel him forward. He would land at least on the log.
But there's a force field right there. So
Oh, there is there?
I didn't see. But yeah, okay. Exactly.
Oh, now I see it. I see the force field now. We'll put a little glimmer on there, okay?
Okay. It really adds to the story.
Yeah, I think so. So what I think you should do is I think you should repair those keys. And so if he takes an anticipation that he's in this like crouched position, so now I'm doing my line of action just really stiff right there,
Mhm.
but make sure that he goes up. So repair that one where he's kind of going this way, and instead of having him going this way, just make sure he goes straight up. Because he
Okay.
can do that. You're allowed to jump straight up in the air.
Mhm.
And as long as you do that, then taking one little hop step over to get to this position should be fine. And then you won't have to worry about the force field.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. All right, so that timing looks pretty good, and this timing looks good. So how did you feel about the delay, about going off the screen and then coming back on?
I might shorten it a little bit just to keep the viewer engaged. I think it's a little too long, but I do like it. I think it adds to the element of there's a camera there and there's a scene happening.
All right, I want you to repair this tree.
Uh-huh.
It's like one of my art teacher pet peeves. If you're going to draw a tree, then make sure that you draw a tree correctly.
Right. Not broccoli?
No, not broccoli. I swear to the gods, I'll find out where you live and I'll bury things in your front yard.
Berry broccoli.
Your parents are gonna like go, what? Do we have a new gardener? So something like this. And I think that you should lose this line.
Mhm.
I don't think you need this line, so get rid of this line. If you have your grid, your horizon, your might be like here, and your perspective grid should be something like this,
Mhm.
right? Sorry about the sloppiness. And according to that, so the rules go that if the vanishing point is here, and that if this tree is this tall, then you can calculate where any other tree is in the perspective grid. And so if you want trees over here, then all you need to do is figure out how tall they are. And so
Right.
if you wanted a tree here to be this tall, then go back in and make sure you use the same kind of proportions. And so that you have a bigger tree here, and then this one is a little smaller. So these trees are getting you in trouble. And this tree is getting you in trouble.
Okay.
And I think that you could even tweak the perspective on this log a little bit, just to make sure that it does look like it's in perspective.
Mhm.
You want to screen grab that?
Yeah, I'm doing it on my iPad, so I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me just check the timing one more time. And you're gonna put the wings on the butterfly.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish the butterfly.
Okay, so one little hint for you is the following. And that is that I think you have your track for the butterfly, and it is moving like a butterfly. That's okay, but for any particular butterfly, you might have a full view of both wings. And in reality, when a butterfly has its wings up, that means that he's kind of going down. When the butterfly puts his wings down, he moves up a little bit. So
Mm.
just keep that in mind. And you can have this go back and forth just between up and down position. It'll truly look like a butterfly just alternating between A and B movements.
Okay, that's
You can put a slightly up pose in there if you want. You can also put a slightly down pose in there if you want. But what I would do if I were you, and I'm not because that would be really painful, Is that in these shots, right, in these frames right here, I would put like little motion lines right here.
Mm,
And so that it just gives you the appearance of the wings moving really fast. And even on these keys, you can also put like a little bit of a motion right there,
mhm.
just a
I might
little
also
bit.
do a few like frames of the butterfly with its wings open for a few frames, sort of like.
Yeah, you
his
can do that. They
body.
glide. Yeah, you can do that too. So if you have like a few frames where he's just gliding along and you have the same kind of position, it'll work.
Okay,
But just think about your sequence, up, down, and then this is like A2 and this is B2. It's actually really easy.
yeah,
And really, it's very forgiving. You could even have the one where the wings are straight to the camera and they disappear. But don't do too many of these.
yeah,
Concentrate on the up and down motion and these little blur lines.
okay. And with if there's a couple where the butterfly is like flat, when the wings are down, it would kind of look like from a bird's eye view, I guess kind of like a closed paper, open. Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
that would be this B pose, wouldn't it?
But then if it was from a bird's eye view,
But
the
yeah,
count,
but you don't have a bird's eye view because
I might.
well, are you just speaking hypothetically?
Well, like when the butterfly, I was thinking of entering the butterfly from where he looks, just how you have it in the left corner right there.
Yeah.
So it would come in like that, and then eventually you'd see its profile, and it's kind of moving organically.
Okay.
So I guess I'll just have to figure out what it looks like when its wings are down, and then
Well, it would look like this. These are the side views here.
mhm,
Yeah, this and I'm keeping your camera in the same view.
mhm.
If both wings are down, it would look like this. Well, actually, you could do another variation on this and say that here's a little body, and then here's the near wing, and here's the wing that's in the back, and then you could put the other wing like this, and you wouldn't see
Right.
the little wing in the back.
Yeah,
And then you could put your motion lines on here just to make sure that it looks like it's moving.
yeah,
Then this left wing automatically becomes a motion line.
right.
And you see this all over the place where if I have a baseball and the baseball is being thrown, it's moving so quickly that the camera is gonna record like little speed lines as it goes away. And you see this. So these are the trailing lines of the baseball as it moves away. So these speed lines here are a way. That's what this is. That's what these little motion lines on the wing are. There's also a way to just blur it, and you just kind of go frame by frame, and you put it. It's a smear. So there's blurs and smears and repeated lines. There's lots of different ways of doing fast motion.
Yeah, cool. I'm excited.
All right, you got that picture too?
Yeah, let me. Yes.
Got it?
Yeah.
All right, it looks good. Your timing looks good. Fix your trees or I'll find out where you live.
All right.
Was that you taking a picture?
Yeah.
That was strange. It came out of just the left speaker. I thought there was
Yeah.
somebody in my apartment taking a picture.
Oh no.
All right, thank you, Elise.
Thank you.
All right, Zaylee.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on a second. Oh,
I
okay.
just made a new version. I'm trying to upload it right now.
All right, so this is something I've already seen before. Oh, this is new. Do you have one that's more current than this?
Yeah, I'm uploading it right.
Okay, well, I'll wait then. Tell me when it's ready. Is it ready yet?
It's taking a
Is it ready
second.
now?
Nope,
How
not yet.
about now?
You know, maybe it.
Right this minute.
Okay, yeah, I think it is.
Refresh. Okay. What are you gonna have happen next?
I had him falling on the ground. I don't know why it didn't export, but yeah, I'm just gonna have him like fall on the ground and like lay there.
All right, I have some notes for you. Are you ready for some notes? All right, I think the chopping is good. But I think that what you should do is on this frame. So is it a boy or a girl that's chopping?
Oh, guy.
It's a guy. All right, on the one chop that is the last chop, this frame right here, hold it. So that he's listening. So whatever frame this is, could you tell me what frame number this is in your project?
Yeah. It's frame 32.
Hold this for at least 18 frames. Take it out to frame 50 for a hold. And possibly even do a blink while the character is holding before they turn their head. So this hold's really important. It's like, it reads as the character has heard something and the impulse has gone to their brain. And then they thought about it. And then they raised their head a little bit if you could get to it, and then turned their head. That's 18 frames. All of that thinking is 18 frames. So that head turn is good. And this is fun. I like this. I think you could do a couple other things with it though. So remember we talked about bulging the doors. Were you going to try that at all?
Maybe if I have time, I'll do that, but yeah.
Well, there's something else that's a little easier. So let me show you. So just imagine that the doors are bulging even just a little bit. Whoever's on the other side was like banging on the doors enough that this door becomes bowed and this door becomes bowed the other way, which leaves a gap in the middle. And that's something that you might have to consider, because if you did see a gap in the middle, you'd have to get the little portals to move to the left and right, the little door handles, and then you might see them. You might see whoever it is back there, right? You could like see these eyes lurking. What are you doing? I didn't want you to make lunch, so that's one thing to consider, right? But if you're not going to do that, then consider just little motion lines coming from the center, because that the character behind the doors is pounding on the doors right in the middle, kind of like douche, douche, douche. And so from this center point, just put these little motion lines and they point at that center. They all point towards the center. So you've got these electric lines, which you could do the same thing. You could have it go from, it's emanating from this point. So it goes like this, but then bring it out one more. So you have them wiggling around on this point right here. And I think it would look better if you let the electric bolt move to the left. And it can change its shape a little bit too. So this is moving a little bit, and you can try that. And then in the third frame, you can have it so that it just dissipates to like one little shape. So you start with the lightning bolt that looks like this, then you do the orange, and then you do the white. And that might be fun. And you do it on this one too, so that it's, again, it emanates from the center point, and then it moves out to the left, changes its shape just a little bit. And then in the last one, it changes its shape just kind of even more radically. In this version here, they just move out. These little triangular shapes just move out. And again, it's just 3 frames.
Yeah.
So another version is that in the rubber hose days of animation, if a character was just kind of sitting there doing something, and something took them by surprise, that they would do the typical anticipation, which would be the squash, and their body would squash, and their arms would go up, and then they would do the overshoot, and the overshoot would just be like this, and then they would return to the green key, and while they were doing this overshoot right here, little lines can come out of their head. And some studios like these straight lines, and then like the Fleischer Studios liked using these little wiggle lines. And that was just another variation of how to get the feeling of exasperation. And so again, each one of these just moves outwards just a little bit, just 2 or 3 frames on 2s. So you got a lot of different options to play with the banging on the door right there. But definitely hold his pose before he turns his head. All right, so do you want to take a screen grab of that?
Yeah, I already took a picture.
You already got it, okay. All right, let me look at it again. Let me go back, hold on. Yeah, hold that and then look, then the door pounding, good. This is good. This whole interaction here is really good. The whole sense of timing reads really well. And you should be very happy with that. You're very happy? Yeah, that's good. And I think that you could even, I'm going backwards. So she catches the bowl, and yeah, I think you could hold this. This frame right here, what frame number is this?
Let me-
Right, this one right here.
Yeah. 154.
154. So my intuition says that you could hold this frame. So now we held the chopping frame over here for 18 frame hold, right? So you want to do this one differently. What she's doing right now is she's thinking, right? There's like little thoughts going on in his head right here. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Papa's going to catch me. Papa's going to catch me. And so you have it holding for how long right here? How long is this frame holding for?
I think, hold on, I'm trying to do math. I think like 18 frames.
Okay, so if it's holding for 18,
Beats.
if it's holding for 18 frames, I don't think it's enough. Double it. Hold this one for 36 frames. Because he's gathering up his courage to blast out of there. All right, and then let me go all the way back. So chop, chop, chop. chop, 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 hold, and then look, right? And then this, like I suggested, then hold there, hold it, and then blast off and run. So you can feel that you need to hold that. So this is good. And then and what's the narrative here? Is that like her dad? Is that his dad?
No, it's just like another chef that,
And oh, another chef. Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you want to finish it? The story.
I don't know. I didn't think much past him like just like laying on the ground. Like, I don't know, I
Well, I
guess.
think you can, for me, I think you could just end it right there. You're having fun with it. I'm just trying to think if there's a clean way to get out of it, quote unquote, get out of it. If you do this shot where your character is down here, so his head, his line of action, his legs are like this, and so his arms are holding him up, right? And then you put the three-dimensional quality in there, so you get the other arm over here. So this is his right arm and this is his left arm, and that the character's looking up, they're making eye contact. I think something that might work is like a point of view from this character. So what do they see? They see the ominous figure that is the other chef, right? And so use the idea of the inverted triangle, and the arms are crossed, right? And they're mad. I think it's a legitimate pose, but I'm just kind of worried that it's going to continue without this character actually doing something. So if you have this pose and they're kind of just looking down at your hero, it's like, why are we in this pose? Unless this hand comes open and presents them with something, I don't know, an award or a thing of carrots, right? Or you could make it so you don't have to finish this for me, right? You could continue working on this as long as you want. And so you could do the thing where they present like this giant knife. It's a giant chef's knife. This is a thumb. This is the first finger, second, third, the wrist, the cuff. So they present this huge knife, right? And then you could cut back to another shot of his point of view on the ground. So now you have your hero character down here, and they're just kind of, oh my God, and their feet are like this, and their arms are back. And then the feet of the other character are here. So you see this like giant foot, this giant foot. It would actually be a little closer, his belly. And you would see this knife. So it was with his left hand, and you would see this giant knife right here. And you could either push in or whatever to reveal that there's a huge reaction here. Oh my God. And a way to get out of it quickly and easily would be is that now you go back to this POV shot. This is a POV. And you can see that the blade is huge, right? But it's like, it says first place on it. It's like it's an award knife, right? I don't know, it's just something to think about. So it looked like he's pulling a knife, but it's actually an award knife. It's actually a very special knife. And it engraved on it, it says first place, chef, congratulations, or something like that. And again, you don't have to do that for me. I think just finish this pose right here, and I think that you're good. And then, did you want to take a screen grab of that?
Yeah, I already got one.
You already got it, okay. So the thing that I would like to see is, let me just count some frames. Well, one thing that you can do is you've got it on twos mostly. I'm going backwards. Now I'm going forwards. One thing that you could do over the next week is put the background in there. Remember, we talked about the blurring and the swishing of the stuff going by.
Yeah.
It's so that the character's not running in outer space. Just give each one of the different shots some sort of background. And then you may want to go in and paint all the characters a light gray so that they pop from the background. Does your intent to kind of do this kind of background for all the shots?
Yeah, I was gonna do that. I just didn't for
All right.
the.
So you're in a good place. I think that your overall sense of timing is pretty good. Just that little hold right there. And that little hold right there. And remember, squash and stretch. When he hits the main chef, the chef doesn't need to move, but he can just squash and stretch right into him before he falls. Looks good. You're having fun with it, aren't you?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
really.
you are. All right, good.
Thank you.
Well done. Hannah Joy. Hannah Joy. Hannah Joy.
Hi.
Hannah.
Yes.
Oh, there you are.
So I still need to clean up the pencil lines, but I just want to know if I've got the actions all down and timing and
Well, now, are you making up excuses again?
there should be 2 more scenes attached to this. Yeah, there you go.
What are the other 2 scenes?
Oh no, those were the 2 I was talking about. There's 4 scenes in total. Or,
Well,
you know, 4
actually, I
shots.
want you to use the right terminology. They're not scenes, they're shots.
Yeah, 4 shots.
And we didn't go into this very much, but the reason for that is this is one whole environment. If you walk into a room with a camera and you're going to record people at a dinner party, that whole dinner party is a scene. And then you could have 500 shots inside that dinner party, but it's one scene. And the problem is, for anyone else who's listening out there in the 417 sphere, is that we as animators were toggling behind the cinema people as early as 1909, doing the drawings of the funny face and the very, very, very early stuff of stop motion in animation. Gertie the Dinosaur was 1914, but there was a whole bunch of stuff that was before that. Emile Renault's Theater Optique, all those devices like the zoetrope and the proxinoscope, those were just like, wow. The magic lantern was a thing. But by the time you get to Gertie the Dinosaur in 1914, it was hand-drawn, fully animated, there was voices. It was actually quite an accomplishment for Winsor McCay to be able to put that together. Absolutely amazing. But it was at that time when they were borrowing terms from cinema, and the animators got stuck on scene. They love the word scene. You know, oh, you're making a scene. And I know that your mom yells at you all the time, Hannah, stop making a scene at the dinner table. but you're not. That scene, the word usage of that word is okay at that point because you are making a scene. But when we're talking about film production, those are shots within the scene, and it didn't stop. The Winsor McKay probably called his scenes instead of shots, and then the Disney company, more than anybody else, kept calling them scenes. If you're inside the castle and the mice are rescuing the princess and there's 17 shots, those are shots within a scene. It's only a different scene when you go to a different environment. When you go from the kitchen to the living room, that's a different scene. When you go from inside the house to outside the house, that's a different scene. All right, are you done? Can I stop
Yeah.
right now? All right, so
I
this
think I
looks
get
really
it
good.
wrong, like left and right.
So the overall timing looks really good here. Nothing caught my eye. Nothing said, oh, you need to make this faster or you need to make this slower. I'll play it again. That little crawl is nice. Well, there is one thing right there. I think that if the character does a reaction, if they stand up and they're like, they hold for a moment and they're like, right? So they did their little reaction, like right there. I think that you could use an anticipation downwards to get into this, right? Oh no.
Yeah.
So I'm going backwards right now. So going forwards, I think that instead of just blasting into this overshoot, you really literally, quite literally should take an anticipation and squash. And remember that he's going up, he's going straight up and then straight down. But if you play it carefully, if you build him going to the left just a little bit, that builds in an automatic anticipation of him being able to start moving in order to catch the ball and tumble with it. So the adjustment here would be that instead of just blasting out of this pose, instead of just blasting into this, take so so if he's going to move this way, then the anticipation would be opposite. So have him squash, bend at the knees, arms out, both arms out. That's your anticipation. There's a squash here. There's squash on the body. Squash anywhere you can get it. And then fall 2 frames after the squash, go into the stretch, which is now opposite of the action. So he's going to go backwards. And you can have him go off the ground, that's fine. Something like that. And you could, in order to indicate that he is off the ground, you can put like a little shadow down here. Right, and his eyes can get really big, right? And what that does is that it establishes at least that there's a little bit of motion to the left. And try to get out of this in 2 or 3 frames, so that what it does is instead of returning to a neutral position, which was right here, you automatically start in your forward motion, whatever that forward motion is, whether you want it to be here or here. I think that if it's this one, which I think he tumbles like over here, then this blue drawing, you could actually exaggerate it quite a bit more because this is a big motion. This is a big movement right here. So you could get away with the the overshoot being really exaggerated because this motion is exaggerated. It's very cartoony. You would never be able to accomplish that kind of acceleration in live action. Occasionally you see some athlete do something amazing, you know, like in the Olympics. But yeah, you could certainly manage to bring your at least your overshoot back like this. And then going back, I think there's a good relationship between the normal neutral pose, the forwards anticipation, which has the squash in it, the rearwards overshoot, which has the stretch in it, and then blasting, only holding this for 2 or 3 frames, and then blasting straight into this. I think that kind of adjustment will give you a little bit better dynamic. Do you want to take a picture of that?
All right, got it.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that sit there, and I'm going to play that little shot. And you can see if you can imagine. See it? What you got is very soft. What you have is very soft right there. So once again, you could certainly afford a cartoony anticipation, a cartoony overshoot, and then blasting into that motion. Oh, look. You want to take a picture of that? You ended on a black frame, so now you get
Okay, got it.
you can get the full range. You could even put that as a layout right inside your animation project. You got it? Got it. Okay, it looks really good.
As for cleaning up the lines,
You
is
don't
there-
have to, remember, you don't have to do that.
Okay, so how I have it right now is kind of acceptable.
Yeah, I think it's fine. This is a rough line. This is a typical animator's rough. I think that you do change a couple of different times.
Yeah, I got different
which
colors.
I don't care.
Thickness
Hannah, Hannah, I really don't care. I think that it gets a little sloppy sometimes,
Yeah,
but the
I
whole,
was kind of painting down with this color first and then doing blue over the top to like work out where the lines were going to be exactly, but I didn't have time.
well, I think that what's really important here more than anything is that the motion is looking really good. You've got the overall sense of timing of the shots all put together. They're all looking really good. Now that you're yelling at me, I want to see one thing here.
Do I need more steps?
Speed
in
this
there?
up.
Speed it up more? Okay.
No. Yeah, speed it up. Could this or this pose right here. That's good. This pose holds for too long.
Okay.
This pose right here, you have it on for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8 frames.
Maybe. I'll have to check.
Take this down to try 6 and see if that works. And if it's still a little sluggish, then take it to 4. And then this pose is on for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's so put this pose on for 4, and then this pose on for try 3, and then try 2, because he's just a little sluggish. I know that I told you to get him to speed up a little bit, but it's watch it really carefully right now. He's just a little sluggish. Just right there.
Yeah,
He's just
yeah,
a little
it's kind of
sluggish.
pauses. Yeah.
I
see.
think that if you were in a studio, you could say, well, let me put in a breakdown position between this pose and this pose, which you technically need it because this is a pretty big jump in distance. And when you do that, this frame is holding for 2 or 3 frames. This is holding for 8. And so instead of holding this one for 8, you would put a drawing between these, which would be a breakdown position, and the new breakdown position, which would look something like, you find this position over here, you get his arms up in the air, and so the Archimedes, the head would be here, The body would be like this. This foot would be on the ground. This foot would be like getting ready to land right there. This arm would be like this. The tail would be back. So this would be a breakdown position.
Could I do a breakdown position?
You
instead?
can, and so if you do that, then put the breakdown on 4 and put him on 4.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks good, Hannah.
Yay.
You're having fun with it too.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I was really happy with my little roll as well.
Yeah. It's amazing how much you can get away with. It's amazing how imperfect all the lines can be, and you still get the motion. And a lot of times what happens was that like in a drawing like this, you got the sequence working, you've got the keys working, and there's lots of little arms in there. There is a little anecdote that comes out of the history of animation, and it goes on to the same discussion that we just had with Zales about anything that's moving fast, but when it gets cleaned up, the assistants get in there, the key assistants get in there, and they put these perfect lines down on it. And now I went a little bit too far, but what happens is that, actually, let me go backwards just a little bit.
Is it like you kind of lose the speed?
It's kind of like the speed lines thing. Yeah.
The blurriness. I've noticed that with redrawing over the top of things.
So in a pose like this, I think it's absolutely correct to have the tail following the line of motion, technically the line of action as well. And then in the next pose, all of these drawings of the arms and the legs become speed lines to the motion that is down and then circling. And when the animators would go in from the Warner Brothers studio, they'll go and they clean these up and they'd make them really clean, and it would look really nice as a still picture. And Chuck Jones was like, what happened to the animation? You know, what happened to that spiritedness? What happened to that sprightliness? And they realized that what was happening, there were two things that were happening. One thing that was happening is that they were taking out some of the speed lines. Some of the speed lines right there. Then they were also taking it from faster motions. Usually a keyframe would be here, and then the chart would be that the key number 5 would be over here, and there was a breakdown position right in the middle, and breakdown position 3 would be a halfway between 1 and 5. And it could be also that there was it was shot on 2s, and the faster motions were requiring a breakdown, which would be a drawing number 2, either one of these two situations. And in the rough pencil test, both drawings 1 and 3 and 1 and 5 had all these nice little speed lines in it. And when it got cleaned up, they got taken out, which removed some of the impact of the speed. And then Chuck was mad because when they were cleaning it up, they also put in a really beautiful drawing of drawing 3 and a really beautiful drawing of drawing number 2. And it just made everything really smooth. And the jerkiness was missing. And I don't think he called it jerkiness. I forget what he called.
Maybe.
And this is documented. This is like in his autobiography where he talks about this, because he said, I prefer stuff to be a little more jerky. And they settled on saying, you know, I'm going to keep this on 2s, but in the cleanup of the keyframe 1 and cleanup of keyframe 5, and then therefore the cleanup of the breakdown number 3, keep these blur lines in there. Keep the speed lines in there. And there is if everyone's listening, you can understand that, right? So let me see if I can find this one particular drawing right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, yeah, I'm not going to get caught for copyright infringement. Oh, I don't want YouTube. Hold on. So I'm going to look up Bugs Bunny. I remember Billy B. I thought I was Bugs Bunny for the longest time in my youth. You know, I was born William, but I changed it to Billy. So WB and then Bugs Bunny. I thought I was Bugs Bunny. Speed lines, smear. Let me see if that gets it. So you're seeing a couple of different examples here. You know, this example here, Bugs is his head is being smashed, and so you can see that on one particular keyframe, he's got 10 eyes, and Elmer's doing a smear take. All of these have that kind of same effect to it. Here's like crabs doing the same exact thing, where you could have repeated shapes. And so, and in this one, this is a really early, this is probably 1939 or 1940 of Bugs running so fast that his feet are just blur. So this got translated into Speedy Gonzales. This got translated into Speedy Gonzales, and the Hanna-Barbera borrowed it, Disney borrowed it. It got translated directly into the Coyote and the Roadrunner, where you only see the Roadrunner's legs stopped. Here's a blur lines, dry brush, repeated shapes of Daffy. Just, you know, he's moving so fast that they're smearing. And so that became like this thing in animation where you could get away with these really crazy, an image that just works. In fact, on social media, there was this thing that said, you know, here there's 3 different heads of Bugs, right? And it's that same idea of faster motion. And there was this one thing on social media, let's see if I can find it really quickly, that said, never pause a Disney film. Sorry, I should spell frames correctly. Yeah, I'm not getting a clean read on this one, but you get the idea, right? You get the idea that there's a lot you can get away with in repeated shapes and blur lines and speed lines and things that are just moving really fast, right? How many eyes do you see on the Coyote right there? There's like 14 eyes. But when you're playing this on 2s, it works perfectly. Here's a different one. Now he's got like 18 eyes, and it works perfectly. There's 2 different drawings. There's an anticipation and an overshoot on the same drawing. So I think that you got the idea. Okay. All right. Thank you, Hannah.
They almost make really cool posters. Just so weird.
I didn't hear you say it again.
Oh, I was saying that they kind of would be pretty cool posters to have up, just all those weird things.
Well, I think you're having fun with it. You're trying to depict really fast actions where you're really limited to only 24 FPS. So even if you drop the action to 1s, it's still not fast enough. The character or the part of the character is still moving too fast that it would be blurred. Like if I go like this in front of the camera, my camera here is probably picking up the motion at 60 FPS, but it's still blurred. It's still, you know, unless I move it slowly, it's going to be blurred. And what do you do as an animator? Well, you just know that you're starting from this key position, and by whatever beat, where you're on frame 8, I have to be down here, but I don't have enough frames. And so you just blur it. You do dry brush, blur frame, but there's tons of stuff you can get away with. All right, Brianna. Okay, so it's good. It looks like you got most of it. Brianna, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have some notes for you.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to describe a couple of timing situations for you. So I think that, hold on. You start out your shot, but this guy is in a standing neutral position. But as soon as he takes his anticipation, which is right here, right? So you go directly from this pose into this pose, but you're not allowed to break the law of physics. And so, and it reads too, that you go from this to this, and you can see his foot sliding around. So I'm going to put my mouse right here. So this foot needs to be locked on the ground. You can't move both feet at the same time.
Okay.
Only Michael Jackson could do that, and he's gone now. So you're not allowed to move both feet at the same time. So fix the anticipation here, and fix the anticipation by starting to keep this foot in the same position, lock it down. If the character is looking at us and the line of action was regularly straight, then go to a curved line of action, draw the head, attach the body, bend this knee. Go ahead and bend this knee, and then get this knee to come up like this. Get this arm to go like this. Get this arm to go in front of. And so you're looking at a good silhouette, right?
Mhm.
But you have to lock this foot down. All right, and so this anticipation drawing it should only be on for a maximum of 4 frames. And it depends on what your action is happening coming out of the anticipation. But I think you have it lasting for just a little too long. I'm going to leave this on the screen, and I'm going to come out of this mode, go back to QuickTime. So you have your character going into the anticipation. You can see the difference already, right?
Yeah.
See, so my suggestion is going to be an infinite improvement. So but you have the anticipation lasting for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have it lasting for 7 frames. Take it down to 4. Do this kind of anticipation with this kind of silhouette, and take the timing down to 4. Hold on a second. It's not listening to me. There we go. All right, so now you hit a new frame, and pay attention to where your foot is. So if he's going to drive off this foot, then it still has to be in that same place.
Mhm.
It's just if this foot slid at all, he would fall. If this foot slid like this in real life, the very next frame he would be flat on his face. And so you can't remove that essence of weight. So lock that foot down right there. And then the timing. This is on for 1 frame, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's already starting to run. Take all of these run drawings down to 2.
Okay.
Okay, and then on the drawing right before he leaps, so this drawing right here, whatever drawing number this is, you need to make an adjustment, because I'm going to leave my mouse just right here where the foot is. I can't do that. Hold on. I'm going to put the playhead right here where the corner is. Right? See that? And I'm going to annotate this. All right. So now I can't move my QuickTime. I don't think I can move my QuickTime. So what you need to do is the very next drawing needs to be your anticipation down. And so, and if he's going to jump and land to get on this wall, right, then this anticipation can be really broad. You could even have him going all the way down to here. And if the foot is, if the foot is still here, then the line of action is going to be like this. So this foot then is going to look like this. And these arms can go up and back. So try an anticipation like this. You could have both feet on the ground so that the other foot lands here, and that is the thing that propels him into this motion. So try this kind of anticipation. Again, whenever you're doing an adjustment like this, always think about your clean silhouette. Head, line of action, body, right foot, leg, left foot, open space between the legs, right arm, left arm. That might be a little big, but you're getting a good silhouette out of it. So this is a much better anticipation. So in this series of notes, you're fixing this anticipation, and then you're fixing this anticipation to get off the wall. Here, you could even add a little squash to it if you could get to it. But in reality, what happens is that your character is kind of just this simple shape, right?
Mhm.
And this kind of drawing is an automatic squash look to it anyway, because the hands are further out, the knees are further out, it's crouched. You can put a little squash on the head right there. This will improve both the drawings before it and the drawings after it when he blasts out of the pose to get up on the wall. So instead of that drawing right there, you see it? Instead of that drawing right there, it should be the blue one I just drew. And you'll see the difference because then you have more of an upwards arc, more of an upwards arc than you already have landing on the wall. All right, so you want to take a picture of that? Let me know when you got it. Brianna,
I got it.
you got it, okay. All right, other than that, it's looking good. The overall timing here, the little celebration and the look into his mitt. Okay, yeah, it looks good.
Do you think that the part where he's on the wall is okay? 'Cause-
This part,
No, that part
yeah, that's good.
or the one before that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, he kind of floats a little bit, but that's okay. Sorry, my players. And what I mean by floating is that the poses here don't change very much between this pose and that pose. So it looks like it's floating a little bit, but what happens is that you're at speed. Just put that drawing on ones just to speed it up a little bit. But the overall timing of everything looks really good. Okay, got it. Thank you,
Thank you.
Brianna. Damien isn't here with us, I don't think. Damien, are you here? Damien is trying to make this class into asynchronous class. And I don't like that. Damien, you're in trouble. So remember the directions, Damien, were supposed to be a run, a jump, and a catch. And the catch was supposed to be to show weight. And so you've got like the bouncing ball coming in, which isn't moving quite correctly like a bouncing ball. And then it becomes self-motivated here as it bonks your character on the head. Your run is looking a little sluggish. It's looking a little slow. I think you need more drawings to depict the idea of an anticipation, even while you're moving, even while he's running to go into a jump. So this could use a bunch of improvement, Damien, if you get to see this video on YouTube. All right, Jeanette,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good.
All right, so how do you feel about the idea I gave you last week? Are you working with it? Are you having fun with it?
Yeah, I like it. It's I think easier than the side profile because I think I have a hard time drawing on side
Right.
profiles. But I'm still working on getting that to.
So it looks pretty good right now. I think that what I'd like you to do though is to move a couple of objects, move a couple of keyframes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to toggle through this with my arrow key, and I'm going to leave my mouse right here. I think he plants his feet right there. Right, see it right there? I think I went too far. Right there. Oh no, I lied. He plants his foot right there. Okay. So I'm going to leave my mouse right there. And I'm going to use my arrow key. So now that's the thing that propels him upwards. Okay, so I'm going to leave the keyframe right there. And I'm going to annotate. And this is an easy fix. This is the thing that you should be able to have tons of fun with at this point. So in this annotation here, you've got a implied vanishing point that is like right here, right? So when you're implying that the vanishing point is here, right? You could very easily fill out your background with anything that's on the horizontal plane. And that could just be the stadium, the stands, right? So there'd be seats over here and people in the seats, right? Got it? Yes?
Yeah.
So if this is your vanishing point, then these lines have to behave to it.
Okay.
These lines are behaving to it. And if you've got another vanishing point way over here, which is fine, that's good. These lines are behaving to it, but these lines have to be fixed right here. And then make this like it's a soccer game and not a basketball game. All right. All right. So that's the first thing that I see. And then kind of make these a little more straight and pay attention to this vanishing point. See it? So even that scrappy little line I'm drawing right there improves your background a lot.
Okay.
This goes here. So this corner, it goes up to it. This is incorrect. This line right here is incorrect. All right, and then for the animation, this foot locks, but remember that he was standing over here. And so if he took a 1-step run, 2-step run, 3 steps, like something like that, then he would continue his forward momentum. And so when he jumps into the air, the next drawing after this should be an anticipation drawing. So even though he's coming up, he should scrouch down. And the anticipation here is that his knees are bent, or at least the one knee is bent, and the other can still be behind him. But let his arms go behind. And it's the same cartoon thing that your arms go opposite of the way your body is going down, so the arms go up. It's called contraposition. So this is a better anticipation.
Okay.
Let me tie that down a little bit for you.
So is that one going after the one I have currently, or the one, or is the one that's going
This
instead?
drawing right here is okay.
Okay,
This is the next keyframe.
okay, got it.
All right, and again, you're looking at good silhouette. You're looking that every part has a good space to live. And you can also draw him a little bigger. All right.
Okay.
So because he's moving from this position into this position, you either need a blur frame on this anticipation or a breakdown right in the middle of it.
Okay.
And we didn't talk about that a lot, but that's okay. You would need a drawing in between there. All right. And then instead of catching the, because you have him catching the ball like right here, what he's doing with his forward momentum is that he should be catching the ball like right here. And you don't have a lot of drawings right now, so that's good. So what this does is that it gives if you were to track his head would be moving like this, and then it's going to blast up. And so let him catch the ball up here. All right, are you understanding that sketch?
Yes.
I think that it might be best if I can't. Oh, I can. Let me see if I can. Oh. So let me hold on. So it might be best if that guy was like right here. So the feet match, right?
Okay.
So that foot lands and it's still propelling him off the ground. Now it's kind of funky town, which is a technical term in animation. Go look it up, funky town,
Funky town.
funky
Okay.
town. Because this is his left foot, but the way I drew the sketch is that he's got, it turns into his right foot. So I would reverse that. And you might be able to make, you should be able to make it a little smaller so it fits on the screen, right? And then he would land. So his head is up here and then he would land over here. He would land like right here. And then you can do the landing. You know, something like this. He's bringing the ball into his belly. Everything should have a good silhouette. Left leg, right leg. Try something like that. And then from that's technically a squash drawing. This is technically an overshoot, which is a stretch drawing. And because this is squash, you could have another stretch drawing as he comes to a normal neutral pose. You know, whatever you want. So now he's got like the ball here and he's like, yeah, right? Or you could do that. This is like a typical low hanging fruit kind of pose. And then you can also use a pose that has this arm over here and he's palming the ball, right? So you could try a pose like that. That's kind of cool, right? Head, line of action, body, right leg, left leg. He's just celebrating. All right, you want to take a picture of that?
I got it.
Got it, okay. Let's look at the overall timing just one more time. Yeah, fix your perspective. Yeah, and then, so yeah, he should be landing over here. Because his forward momentum would push him in. Fix the perspective, put a little bit of a background in there. And it'll be good. Right?
Awesome.
Was that a question?
Oh no, I just saying thank you for your.
Oh, okay, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Randy. Randy.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. I'm gonna take a drink of water. So everyone take 15-minute break. Take a break, 15 minutes. I'll come back at 8:20. Take a break. Everyone gets a break except Hannah. Because she's on my list.
But
Nope, you're evil. No break for Hannah, sorry. All right, everybody. I have someone coming to my door in about 5 minutes. So we'll start this and then I'll have to pause for just 20 seconds. So Randy, you're up. Randy, you're up.
I'm here. It's still. I just got Rough Animator working the other day. I haven't really got anything.
Okay.
Oh, this is the same as last week.
All right. So you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
All right. Let me just put this out there for everyone that if you, because this is your finals week, and more than likely, what we're going to end up doing is showing our finals in class next week. And it won't take the whole 3 hours. It's just impossible. It's like, this is great. This needs a little fixing, but this is great. Clap, 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 we can go home. So what I can do is entertain anyone if they have any questions online, but contact me through my Yahoo address, BillyB_44 at Yahoo. So if you have any pencil tests that you want me to critique or look at, just send me anything over the week on Yahoo, and I'll try to get to it. I have some things to do. I have some blocks of time that are pretty open. So go ahead and count on that. I can even make a Zoom meeting for you if you want. All right, so Randy, that you would probably be good to take that opportunity.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. All right, and this is Rachel. Okay, it looks good, Rachel. Got an 8-second movie. Okay, that's good. Close up, cut. Yeah, okay, so Rachel, are you there?
Yeah.
So are you gonna have her celebrate?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't really have a lot of time this week, so I just did that first part that you suggested with that
Right.
close up.
I think it's working pretty well. Don't you?
Yeah, I think the timing looks a lot better, especially now that it's not just one long running shot.
Right. And the cutting looks good, and the running and jumping. I like that little slide you've got in there. Did I suggest the slide, or was that you?
I think I did that.
No, it's good. I like it. So one thing that I could suggest for you is to. So I think you've got this overlapping action on the hair working pretty well. In other words, that when the head is going up, that the hair is going down. You've got that pretty close, right? And you should feel happy with it. It's working pretty good. But one thing that you can do to augment it, to make it a little more interesting, is to figure out the frame where the head is at the highest, right? So I'll just put the highest right here. And one drawing later, that's where the hair is at its down position, right? So make sure that you're at the highest, identify the highest position, and then at least one drawing later, identify where the hair is now at its lowest.
Okay.
Okay, and then, so all you're doing is you're finding that frame. Because the next thing that you want to do is find the very next frame, this frame, after the hair is at its lowest, and flip the hair. So do a drawing of the hair where the ponytail is flipped the other way. And all
Okay.
you need to do it is for one drawing. Just flip it. In the studio production world, I would make you do a breakdown between each one of them here, and then in order to get back into the regular ponytail. But identify the highest, identify where the hair is at the lowest, and then the very next drawing, flip the hair. Just so that's all you're doing, is you're figuring out which drawing to flip the hair. And don't worry about whether this frame, the head is going up or down or whatever, because it probably, it just won't matter. What happens is the visual flipping is all that you're really looking for. All right. Oop, look at that. I drew a great big line. All right, so I'm going to leave that. No, I'm going to clear that. Do you want to take a picture of that?
I got it.
I got it. Okay. Oh, hold on. And then do that for every one of the positions of the hair.
Okay.
All right, and so do you know what you're thinking of for the celebration?
I think maybe like having her jump up in the air, like excitedly, maybe with her hands going up.
Yeah, like a woohoo.
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, make sure that you follow your rules of dynamics. So that means that from this position, what do you want her to do? Is she going to take like another little jump maybe? She's going to land right here. In order to have her take that jump, have her do an anticipation. So bring her head forward. Have her line of action be crooked. Keep the feet in the same place. Get this arm to come up a little bit. Again, you're worried about silhouette. Get this arm to come up a little bit. And that's counteraction, right? Where the body's going down, the head's going forward, the arms are going out. That's your anticipation. You put a little squash on there. And then what you're trying to do is you're trying to hit the celebratory drawing where she's up in the air. So she's coming down, she's going to bounce up. And her line of action is going to be like this. Her mid is in her right hand, so that's going to come down. So you could keep your mitt kind of like right here, it kind of tucked into the body. But then this arm is going to counteract it. So bring this arm up like that. And so this leg is going to just kind of drag behind it. And then you can do a number of things. I think it might make sense to have this leg just do that. So again, she's going to take her anticipation. She's going to jump upwards. And I think I might have drawn her a little big, but that's okay. You get the idea. And then she's going to land right here. And then, so then you know what to do, right?
Yeah.
I think that a little bit of wiggling in the hand right here, yes, when she's up in the air is all you really need.
Okay.
It looks good. All right, do you want to take a picture of that?
I got it.
Got it, okay. Thank you, Rachel. Moses. Moses, you're here, right?
Yes.
Moses.
Hello.
All right, let's take a look at this. Have I seen any of this yet?
I think you saw the like rough keyframes I did last week.
Okay. Anticipation looks good. Timing looks good. The jump. Okay. I think it looks pretty good. What else are you planning on doing to this?
I wanted to add like a barn or in a tree or maybe something in the background to like even further display the fact that he's running and traveling.
Okay. I think I remember suggesting to you that by this frame over here, the background would be out. So give yourself like another couple of drawings to get this
Mhm.
background out. And I think that you could even continue zooming in on him, you know, now that you know how to do it. And so that you're ending with like this kind of shot here. And then get his head to be facing us just a little bit more. And then go in there and get a better hand working.
Mhm.
Hold on one second. Good, thank you so much. Everyone's, yeah, thanks. All right, sorry about that. All right, so yeah, draw this hand better. So think about the bones. If you're going to be in this close up here, then think about the bones. This is the humerus. This is the ulna, the radius. Get the hand. You're giving a thumbs up, right?
Mhm.
So get that thumb in there. Let me Z out of that a little bit. So your thumb would be up. And then your fingers would be curled over. So just draw that hand a little better. Again, the zoom isn't the best drawing tool. All right, try something like that. Are you sure you wanted to have the guy have an axe in his head?
No, I haven't thought of that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that?
I might.
If he's gonna have an axe in his head, he's gotta have scraggly hair. All right, yeah, try zooming in onto a close-up on him. and then nailing that drawing a little better.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Moses. Evelyn. Oh, geez. Right, we didn't see this at all last week, right?
No, I didn't submit anything.
Okay, yeah, this is great. Babies can fly, can't they? All right, so I see one thing that could use just a little adjustment, and that is right here. I think that what you're doing is you're technically, whether you know it or not, you're cutting on action. And what that means is that your shot opens up and stuff is already moving. And so remember too, everybody, that I asked you all to end on a black frame so that we knew when your shot was ending. But you're doing a thing that's called cutting on action. So this right here, there should be a black frame so that we know. I mean, you could continue this animation, this narrative, quite a bit longer. You could have him hand her the baby, or have her hug him first before she hands the baby. But I think that what you've got right now is working, and it's good. I don't mind these kinds of lines. They're a little straight. I prefer the rough lines to have more of a gestural quality to them, but that's okay. I think that you do need a final ending pose where he gives her the baby. And were you planning on doing that?
Yeah, I was wondering if I should just keep going and just, yeah, have him hand over the baby and she's like, yay, baby's not dead.
Yeah, I think that you're obligated as an artist and a narrator and a storyteller to give the baby to her. You could do a couple of things right there. You could cut to, or you could just even, well, see, the thing I'm going to suggest to you is not the best idea. But if we look at this whole composition here, your guy is here, and the fire plug is here, and then the lady is here, right? So he's like 1 step, 2 step, jump, catch, and then he finishes right here, and the lady's coming in. So this is right here. So, and the camera actually has animated. You have animated the camera moving because the fire plug was actually moving in. And remember that you're cutting on action to start your shot. All right, and so having said that, I'm just thinking of the best way, because right here, this is your guy, and this is the lady right now, and your camera is looking at it. It's actually to the left a little bit, because there's all this area over here. What I'm considering is if you give the guy a pose where he takes another step just a little bit closer to her to hand the baby, right? And she just takes a little bit closer to accept the baby, right? And so she's in more of a neutral pose now. And so he's maybe still on this left foot kind of deal. And then his right foot is just here a little bit, you know, that kind of thing. And you know that, right? But what I was thinking is that they're interacting with each other. This is a very important thing, is that she's very happy that whether we understand why the baby was falling or not, you know, what kind of a mom would be down here and the baby would be up here so that some stranger had to catch it in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So So I think that you might not want to go any further than just ending it like right here where they just here and she hugs him. Because I think that if you were to try to get this kind of camera and you were going to try to show her expression, and so that you did like a shot where his head is in silhouette, his neck, his shoulders in silhouette. And you could still do this if you want. So I'm looking at this camera right here. And so she is just right of center a little bit. So Hannah's suggesting that there was a giant pterodactyl. Do you see that in the chat?
A bird of prey, pterodactyl. Yeah, maybe.
A giant
You never
pterodactyl.
know. Jurassic Park could be a thing.
So some giant pterodactyl.
Oh, he's behind. It's behind him. Oh no.
That's great.
Sorry. So she's got the baby right here, right?
Yeah.
You might want to try this. I think it would be really sweet.
Yeah, I was wondering if I should move them over because yeah, there's a lot of space on the left.
No, I know that. Don't worry. Try this. So progress the animation so that he moves forward just a little bit. The handoff happens here. She moves forward just a little bit. And then he gives the bundle to her. And then as soon as that happens, cut. And make this your final shot where she's got the baby and she's just really happy. Thank you, Mr. Hero, right? All right, and then I think that there's only one other thing that I would suggest in terms of timing, and that is that he's cutting on action. So come on, quick time. So he's moving in and he reaches this position where he takes his attention away from his cell phone and looks up. Hold that pose for at least 16 frames. Hold that pose right there for at least 16 frames. So do you want to take a picture of this?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was a loud camera.
Yeah, it's pretty loud.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this, but I'm going to pause right there where he's holding. So what I'm suggesting is that, yeah, he's looking at his phone. He's looking at his phone, pause, and then he runs and jumps and catches and hands off the baby, and then cut to that final shot. So did you feel that?
Yeah, like
Let me do it one more time. So that was at least 16 frames. Let's do it again. So right in there, the ideal frame for this is that he's got his attention on his phone and he puts his phone down just a little bit and he's looking up. That frame right there. This frame right here, he's looking up. He should be holding that for at least 16 frames. That's 2 beats.
okay.
And that'll give a real sense of timing. He doesn't even have time to do an anticipation. He's just going to run and jump and catch the baby.
Okay.
All right, so, and it's looking good. I don't mind the rough line here. You don't have to clean this up.
Okay.
Okay.
That would be helpful.
I think that you could probably rough in some hands.
Yeah, yeah,
Just use mittens. See me in the monitor?
yeah.
Just use mittens. Don't worry about all the fingers and stuff.
Okay.
All right, it looks good. For not having seen it before, it looks good. All right, Let me refresh this. All right, did anybody submit and I haven't seen it yet? All right, so technically this would be a time when I let you work. So let me do a little exploring. Actually, take another short little break. Take a 5-minute break right now. And that is just a continued discussion on faster motion. It's not technically an intermediate or an advanced notion in animation. It's just that here at this point, I think that all of you might be able to use just a little bit of extra. And so in order to do that, let me think about this for just a minute. Yeah, let me open up a rough animator here. Oh, I moved it. Hold on a second. All right, so I'm going to paint this black. I'm going to paint
You're
this.
not sharing your screen.
I'm going to share my screen. I do that just to annoy Hannah because I know how much it bugs her. Okay, so I just took a paint bucket to my background and I painted it black. Now, one of the things I was looking for was that these repeated shapes, these smears, these blur frames. There was a couple of things that I haven't mentioned yet in the history of animation, and that is that Chuck Jones, Tex Avery, Bob Clampett, those kind of really cartoony animators, Ward Kimball from the Disney studios, really loved that idea of extra cartoony stuff happening. And it could be that when the Roadrunner was eating his little lunch right here, that there were 4 heads on the same frame. And I think that what was happening was that in the process of animation, you do a rough drawing, which was done either with a graphite pencil or later on, roughs were done with blue so that you could tell it was a rough drawing because some animators worked really, really cleanly. And the assistants, the breakdown artists couldn't tell whether it was a finished drawing or not. And so in most studios everywhere between Universal Pictures, Klasky Chupo, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Disney, Warner Bros., everybody, usually the animators' roughs were done in blue. Somewhere around 1990 onward up until today, everyone knew that if it was a blue drawing, it was in rough. Going backwards from the 70s all the way back to the beginning of animation, the roughs were generally done with pencil. And you just had to know as a working in production whether it was a rough or whether somebody actually cleaned it up or not. All right, so having said that, there was a big difference between the way things looked on pencil tests than they did in final ink and paint. And so that little example that I had there of either the coyote moving his head like this, or Bugs doing this, any of that, it looked very different on the pencil test than it did in the final ink and paint. So there's always a little adjustment that was made, and the adjustment had a couple of things that went along with it. You know, this is a good one here where he's got his head. This is a good one too, where he's coming in so fast that there are 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 10 lower jaws of Daffy as he's coming into the Elmer. All right, so when we see that, there's a couple of things that come into play just about the way you handle the motion when it's moving faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use an animator's rough color here. And so there's a couple of things to consider. When a ball is moving on its trajectory, if it's at the beginning of its arc here, and so it's not going to reach its top of its arc until we over here somewhere, that it's actually moving quite a bit faster than one frame at 24 FPS will allow to capture this motion at a normal f-stop and shutter speed, right? So we're looking at f-stop and shutter speed. In the cartoon world, in the comic book world, these were trailing lines. And you know this, you've seen these in comic books your whole life, that on the trailing edge, you can draw just these kind of indications to, these kind of lines to indicate the movement is going that way. All right, so these end up becoming what's called repeated shapes. All right, and then remember that the examples of that is any of these are, and so you use your artistic license in there to figure out how crazy you want to make it, how much squash and stretch plus the repeated shapes you want to put in there. It all works. Then there's speed lines. And I'm going to end down here with just one little comment that should wrap it up. So the speed lines are you taking the air and kind of starting where the ball is moving and kind of drawing it this way. And again, you're using your artistic intuition here because you just want a few of them. You're going to have to animate, you know, whatever 24 FPS. You might have 18 balls to draw, and you don't want to just spend the rest of your day drawing these speed lines like this. All right, so repeated shapes, and remember that the repeated shapes has several different applications. Sorry about the spelling, where it's either just a simple shape or as complicated as the cartoon world will allow the motion to look correct. All right, and then there's the thing called dry brush. And that's kind of the production mode of what do you do with this as an ink and paint artist? Because if this was the rough drawing, then the ink and paint people would literally take their paintbrush, and the paint was still wet, but there just wasn't a lot of it. And they would copy what you drew almost as like a special effect. So if we just change this to dry brush, we should get, spelling it correctly. Let's see if we can find one. These are usually only prevalent in final ink and paint. I'm not seeing any. Why don't I see any? Oh, this one. So here, a very early view of Elmer. And then this one too, where you're just taking the paintbrush and you're drawing speed lines behind it. It's called dry brush. That one doesn't have any. All right, and then in combination of all this was the smear. And that's where you see a character moving their head so fast from one position to another that you've got repeated shapes, you've got speed lines, dry brush, and everything is smearing. And so that, especially on that bull that we saw, that it's smearing, the actual shape is smearing. And so there's a essence of squash and stretch in here. Now, a lot of studios have their own way of handling this, where instead of drawing 3 or 4 noses, they just drew one long nose, or they just use a combination of both repeated noses and speed lines and dry brush and smear all at the same time. And remember that when anything like this is happening, when anything is happening here, these are on ones. Any of these techniques of repeated shapes, several shapes, speed lines, dry brush, smear, they all are on ones. They have to be on ones. It's because the camera is not fast enough to catch them, so it's smearing behind it. All right, and remember that there's lots of different variations here. So there's a couple of things that come into play, and that is that, and I'm glad I'm using this blue here. When we do the character that is, let's say a dog, and the ears are moving from one position to another position over here, and we've got like the chin repeated, and it's in a pencil test, that there's almost like this strange artistic thing. Let me change this to pencil test, where it looks very different in black and white. And so I'm not seeing one that has smear in it. All right, so the point that I'm getting, I'm not seeing a really clear one. The idea is the pencil test. In the pencil test, it's usually just graphite on white. And like I said, Chuck Jones, especially Chuck Jones and Bob Clampett, Tex Avery, Ward Kimball, especially those cartoony style animators, would know implicitly what to do, because this pencil test, which was graphite on white or just paper, would have a very different look and feel to it when it was without the background layer. So if it was just blue pencil lines, right, and the pencil test looked good, sometimes when you got to ink and paint, when you got to the final, there had to be some sort of adjustment. And this takes a little bit of a knack. So for us, we don't have to worry about this. You're not, a couple of you are working with color, but there is a final adjustment to kind of think about here. And that's, I'll turn my background back on again, is that sometimes it pops too much. Where, remember that Chuck liked the pop, that Chuck liked the idea of going from a pencil test, which was on 8s, and then the breakdown drawings are put in, so it was on 4s, and he approved it. And then the faster motions were put on 1s, and something got missing right here. Something got missing, and the studio knew that if there were faster movements that were on 1s, that the assistants knew to go in and put repeated shapes, speed lines, dry brush, smear, anything that had a take on it, they knew to put that in there. But there was a big difference between what any of these procedures looked like when you were drawing it on black and white, as opposed to when it got to color. So a couple of things that come into play, and again, I'm not seeing a really clear indication here. There was one. This one's kind of a good one. It's that you take the motion and you figure out what direction it's going. So the direction here is going this way. And when you're doing any of this, this over here is the brighter color. The brighter thickness of the line. And over on the other side where it came from is lighter. And it became a studio prerogative. It became A studio technique is how to handle this. A lot of the studios just said, hey, well, you know what? The dog is right here. And so let's just do a bunch of repeated shapes so that we could hard line them, and that the ink and paint people are going to know that they're going to use several techniques at once. They're going to use repeated shapes, but they're going to dry brush the shapes that are lighter. And then the effect has less of a strobe to it. And that's the whole point, is that when you're always looking at what your final ink and paint is going to be, and it's up to the director to figure out what this strobe is looking like. Again, remember that discussion started with me being at Colossal Pictures really early, and Oompa Loompas were jumping up and down, and they in the pencil test it looked fine. They had a little bit of speed lines in there, and Phil Robinson knew that the little speed lines are going to be enough. But in the final application, the Oompa Loompas were moving from, on one particular frame, their butt was like here, and on the next frame, they were up here. And even though he had a little bit of dry brush behind it, it was flashing. So this strobe is actually a flashing kind of thing. And it's it depends on the directors, that it was undesirable. And so what they had to do is they had to extend this motion line so that it overlapped the other drawing by just a little bit. And they had to make them bigger so that it lessened the effect of this strobing. But you're not going to get any strobing in a pencil test. If it's graphite on wet paper, you're never going to get any strobing. But when you go to the final ink and paint and stuff is moving fast, it'll strobe like mad. It's up if it's the director and the director is the final say, then that's great, then you're done. But if you're talking to an ad agency, if you're working for Nestle or PepsiCo or Coca-Cola or General Motors, then you have to pay very careful attention. That even the director has to say, the Oompa Loompas are going up, and this stuff here has to be repeated shapes, and I'm going to use dry brush and speed lines so that there is less strobing. And again, this is only for fast motions, only for fast motions. And it is a very cartoony thing. The only similarity would be is that in live action, we just see things that are blurred. When you see stuff that is moving too fast to see in live action, it's just blurred. You just don't even see it. You watch sports, and right now these days, one thing that you would want to pay attention to would be is that, and I'm trying to think of a really good example. Like if you go to a basketball game and you happen to have pretty good seats, and you are 60 feet away from the court, when they're bouncing their basketballs around, there's a couple of things to consider. Once the overhead lights in the stadium are probably flickering at 60 FPS because incandescent lights pulse. Fluorescent lights pulse as well. They pulse at 60 frames per second because that's just the wavelength of the electricity that comes into a unit. And so it would be very common that even though you're watching a basketball game indoors, you are actually seeing things moving at 60 frames per second. You just don't see it because that's really fast. If you're watching it on TV, you could be watching it at 120 frames per second. And that what now looks like it's blurred in real life is now cleaned up, and you can see individual frames a little more clearly. So it's something to consider as an animator when you're looking at motions that are fast. That's just the thing I'm getting at. And that there's a big difference between what it would be looking like on a pencil test with graphite on paper, as opposed to what it looks like with colors. When you add the color, everything changes. So you have to almost routinely modulate backwards. All right, that's my discussion for faster motion. Does anyone have anything they want me to look at right now? Keep working. All right. In the past semesters, in a class like this, where you would be drawing on paper, we would always have a bog of people trying to do pencil tests on the pencil test stations. But because we don't have that, what I would like to do is just start class at 6:30 next week and do final presentations. There's no need to allow for extra time for pencil testing or touching anything up. And again, my email is in there. If you need me from now until whatever next week, then let me know. And I have open time. I'm not crazy busy. Friday night, I get to see all 3 of my kids in one place. I haven't seen all 3 of my kids in one place for 7 months. That happens. It happens sometimes. All right, so I'll let you go. One new message. Nice. Okay, thank you, Evelyn. All right, so I'll let you go a little early. If you're doing faster motions, put those repeated shapes and blurs in there. It's always fun. Always, always, always fun. And remember that when you're doing your final, you know you're doing it right if you're having fun with it. And it goes back and forth. If you're having fun with it, you're probably doing it right. If you're struggling with it, you're doing it, you're wrong. Moses, if you're struggling with it, you're doing it wrong. Got that?
Yes.
That applies to lots of things in art. So you can write that down. If you're doing it right, you should be having fun with it. Think about musicians. Think about Yo-Yo Ma and how easy he makes playing the cello look. Think about Black Uhuru. Does anyone know Black Uhuru? A reggae band? You should check it out. Black Uhuru is one of my favorite. They make playing the music and singing and dancing look so easy. They make it look so easy because they're having fun with it. All right, I'll see you all next week.